So with all these risks, and obviously lots of remote users coming online right now, I mean, I guess when you look at companies adding massive amount of remote users, what should they be looking at?
Sure. I kind of look at two different areas here. You've got your general risks of any software as a service application, right? So a company puts up applications for their employees to do work remotely, and now they're kind of being flooded with, it was built for 20% of the employees, now it has to serve 90 to 100% of the employees. So have you scanned those applications that are now part of your software as a service offering? Have you scanned those applications for any risks? Are they able to handle the additional traffic? Multi-factor is a big thing, right? You hear multi-factor authentication. That's a necessity now. Password and username and password. There's so many databases of exposed usernames and passwords out there that gives a real strong foothold to try to guess someone's password. And now we got the entire world is opened up to remote access. So pretty much all those users, those credentials are in use on applications that are up in the cloud. So anybody can try a username and password. So multi-factor is becoming a certain must-have. And then I talked a little bit about the licensing issue. Well, a lot of ways companies are getting around this licensing issue is sharing credentials or having general use credentials so that 10 people know the admin credential for a software, some software as a service thing, so that they can get in and manage users. Well, sharing those credentials is never a good idea. So we always recommend, hey, you've got to have named users have their own accounts and try to control those admin users as only those people that need it, and those people that need it should have separate accounts for like their day-to-day use of an application, and then a different login for that administrative use. So those are some good controls you can put in place over software as a service in general. But then looking at a specific tool, something like Microsoft 365. It used to be Office 365. I don't know if everybody saw the memo, but they're dropping Office and they're making it Microsoft 365. And that's because Office 365 was primarily just mail and Word and Excel. Well, now Microsoft 365 encompasses all sorts of collaboration tools and different utilities that interact together. Well, as this is all becoming online and serving what used to be what the VPN did, we really have to crack down and take a look at our security settings in Microsoft 365. Is MFA used not just for your initial login, but is it required for all those applications that are connected to it? Think of the SharePoint sites, making sure MFA is needed to get access to those different SharePoint sites. The DLP features, the data loss prevention features, and the mobile device management features of Office 365, are they enabled? Are they correctly identifying new devices that are connecting to the Microsoft 365 environment? There is a default setting when you first turn on the mobile device management features that if a policy can't be applied to a device, by default, it trusts the new devices. So that's a whole area of you're taking a new device, I can't quite apply a policy, so just to make things work so that our users can connect, we'll allow it to connect. Well, it's kind of a bad idea because now I'm sure you can introduce a whole lot of insecure devices to that trusted area. So just making sure that those new tools and features are configured correctly, I think those are the main things we can do right now.
Some of the other things, just to expand on that, Jeff, is so instead of 100% cloud, and we really don't know about a lot of customers that really truly are 100% cloud SaaS apps or Microsoft 365. That's going to take me a while to quit saying Office 365. But
I'm with you. I'm right there.
There's a silver lining, I guess, if we can say, to this whole thing right now with this work from home that we've all been forced into having to adapt and secure it and make sure it's productive and things like that. But what a way to test our business continuity plan or our DR plan. We could have never envisioned having a attest to the scope, to stress test our plans, our environment, our designs, policies, procedures, all of it. So, I mean, first thing I guess what I'd do is take note of what's working and what's not. But as you're looking at your remote access and you're deciding what can we do, you know, we didn't survive the mass influx of users. First and foremost, I wanted to say that there are a lot of vendors that are stepping up right now and stepping up in a big way. They're spinning up free remote access. They're allowing you to burst licenses for some of the vendors you may already own. They're adding that option B. So if something does happen to your primary VPN, you could actually have a spun up option B ready and waiting. And they're doing this all at no cost. I mean, it's just amazing to me to see these vendors and everybody stepping up and helping us all survive this and work well together. So that's probably the first thing I want to say about it. But when we go through and we assess what worked and what didn't, and did this remote access give me the controls or performance or security I needed, there's a lot of new things out there. And so, you know, it kind of first depends on, are you a cloud first sort of organization right now? If your intent is to be cloud first, then my guess is you're probably going to be wanting to look at a remote access system that's cloud based. And if the data they're reaching and the apps they want and everything is already there, it would make sense to put that in versus backhauling or tromboning or hairpinning, whatever you want to call it, but to bring that traffic in with a VPN just to send it back out to the cloud when I can be much more efficient, probably get better performance, and put that in a cloud-based system. So initially, some of the cloud-based systems were concentrators in the cloud sold as software as a service. It wasn't really built to scale and to be what true cloud-based remote access would be. Some manufacturers are leading the charge in that space, absolutely. One of the technologies, and it's somewhat new, it's been around, but it just hasn't had the traction yet, is called SaaS. And really what that is secure access edge technology, meaning my remote access is in the cloud. Not only does it terminate and encrypt a VPN tunnel, but it provides additional features like SD-WAN. SD-WAN is really important if I'm going to be running my voice or anything else that needs a good quality of service through that tunnel as well. And or build out extensions to, you know, your home office and have that extension be bridged from my internal voice system. And then I add the security features on, like the DLP and things that we were just talking about. If there's a lot of SaaS apps, really need to know what data is going where, who's using it, and if I ever have to pull that back, if the employee left, to know where that is and to have control of that account. So to have that CASB built in, to have firewalls and advanced threat protection, malware, all of those obvious pieces in a cloud-based solution. And some that come to mind with that right out of the gate would be something like a Palo Alto. They've got Prisma Access, kind of rebranded Global Protect Cloud, but they've really added a lot of functionality. So if you're a cloud-first organization, that might be a good place to start looking. As far as on-prem, so maybe you're not a cloud-first company. On-prem, there are still a ton of different hardware vendors that support that model, absolutely, with the same kind of DLP and firewall and things like that. So, you know, some of the ones that come first to mind there is Pulse Secure. For those that have been in this industry as long as I have, Pulse Secure started out as Neoterras, who was really the first SSL VPN manufacturer around. So the longevity is there. It's purpose built. What's nice about it is you can get very granular. So let's just go back to that HR person or that purchasing person. Maybe they need one app at the head end, or one file, or one directory at the head end. It's very easy with something like a Pulse Secure to control those access rates down to a specific application, port, protocol, file. Much easier than it is to do with a generic IPsec tunnel. So, you know, to have those types of controls, a Pulse Secure has things like that built in. As far as extreme networks, again, you can get very granular, F5. There's a lot of vendors that if you're still looking at replacing or scaling up your remote access when this is all said and done, or start on your plan B now that you might want to consider. And I know, Jeff, there's probably some good best of breed stuff around also for the SaaS and for the remote users as well.
Yeah, definitely. Let's consider kind of, we talked about security awareness training, and a company called KnowBe4. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of them. They've been big in the phishing test arena for a long time. It's a company that you can set up campaigns to periodically send phishes to your employees and see how many people are clicking on bad links, and if they click on links, how many people are entering company credentials or different things into forums, online forums. And then it modified it. It grew. The platform grew to delivering training on top of that. So you click on a bad link. You clicked on this link here. You definitely need this training again, even though you had some front end training. So security awareness training through KnowBe4 has been a developing area and a very strong area of their product. Well, they've jumped up and they've developed a couple new training modules specifically around remote access, remote work. So that's one company that's really responding. You look at Microsoft 365 and how they are really rapidly evolving their product to not just email access, but again, all the collaboration tools that they offer. Microsoft Teams for doing meetings and video chats and sharing screens, and all sorts of tools that are now built into Microsoft 365, including the development of the mobile device management features. So you can you can let the right devices connect, and if devices don't have certain security controls, it'll automatically upload those controls if you configure it that way, or it'll put the device into kind of a quarantine area where they can only see certain things. They wouldn't be able to download emails to a phone that's not made through all the checks. You can only view an email, because if you download an email to a phone, that gets stored on that phone, and who knows what happens to that file then. So Microsoft 365 is stepping up too. And then in the home office arena, I don't have any specific vendors, but things that kind of you need to check. A lot of vendors play in these different spots, but wherever you are, check on the amount of bandwidth that you have at home, right? So a lot of companies are stepping up with the bandwidth that they're offering, maybe having specials on in doubling your bandwidth for the next couple months. I've seen some specials, some emails come across from Spectrum, is the company that I use, but different bandwidth. So there's more bandwidth needed at home, definitely now. We've got homeschooling going on, right? So you got the kids are watching videos. I'm here trying to do a video conference, so I'm using up bandwidth. My wife is streaming exercise videos, so all that stuff, that's bandwidth. And so I want to make sure that we're getting the bandwidth that we need. And then, your home router, there's a lot of places that sell good routers, Wi-Fi routers. It might be time to upgrade that router, because if you have a router that's 8-9 years old, odds are it's not able to distribute the higher speed traffic that you're able to get in the house. It's not able to distribute it to all the people that need it at the same time. The newer routers can with more antennas. So that might be another area that you need to look in. So those are kind of the areas where companies are jumping up and offering better things to help the remote access go faster.
And even with the home office setup stuff, Jeff, anybody needs to make sure that they're not, with these home routers, not using default usernames and passwords. I mean, that's the last thing you need, is somebody easily getting on a home router, which is, again, tunneling up to your enterprise network. And so we always ask that I know it might take some doing, but to work with your help desk team to validate some simple things to make sure that they've got secure Wi-Fi, that they at least have a password on it, that it's not open Wi-Fi for a neighbor to get on, again, to come up that VPN tunnel. And then one of the things that we talked about briefly, but just to reiterate on the home network side, is to increase or make the idle timeouts shorter, and even periodically force re-auth. If somebody nails up a VPN and it's allowed to sit up and do nothing, again, for anybody to walk by and to hop on from the family, or make vulnerable to anybody, really. And not only that, but to help relieve some of those license counts. If you've got a long timeout or long session timer, or you're literally waiting for somebody to log off, you might be eating up multiple licenses that right now are in high demand. So if we shorten that idle timeout or that reauth to make sure they're really still working, that we can free up a license and make sure that we're securing that link for just not any drive-by person to walk by in the home office to come by. So there's a lot of stuff on the home office side. Again, vendors are really stepping up and offering some free advanced endpoint protection. SentinelOne, CrowdStrike, and others are really saying, here's some free licenses for your home users, because we know there's probably a bunch of personal owned devices, the PCs that are connecting to your corporate network and corporate data center. Here's a little added protection, and they're giving 30, 60, 90 days. We have a list of those out on our website right now of all the vendors stepping up from the VPN side and from the endpoint protection side that can maybe help you make sure that we're not introducing risks that we can avoid by just utilizing some of these free tools.